Actually, it's really good.
Hey, now, good morning. We're live here at City Hall in downtown LA with Black Lives Matter.
Come in.
They still want people to see the phone.
Particularly the mayor holding the Black Lives Matter sign.
I want to get a few photos first. Okay. Don't move.
My name is Gyamfi, Gyamfi. I am an attorney, I am a director of human rights advocacy, and I represent Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. We are calling today on City Attorney Mike Feuer to get on the righteous side of history and drop the charges against Black Lives Matter members, especially the BLM-LA 7, who are currently facing trial, set to begin on Monday for their peaceful, nonviolent demonstration, which occurred in November of 2014. The city of Los Angeles likes to project itself as a progressive city with a concern for social justice and, in particular, racial justice. Mayor Eric Garcetti has called himself a friend to the black community, often citing his work with the Peace Corps in Africa, as well as his walking with President Obama during his campaign. City Attorney Mike Feuer pegs himself as a progressive who would work with the black community to address the concerns of black Angelenos. LAPD Chief CheifBeck is called locally and nationally a great reformer of police and police conduct here in Los Angeles. The movement for Black Lives, which includes the Black Lives Matter movement, is but a continuation of the civil rights movement legacy that Mayor Garcetti, City Attorney Feuer, and Chief CheifBeck claim to honor. They say we honor King, and we honor Dr. King for his work. They say we honor Mama Parks, and they honor Mama Parks for her work. They say we honor the freedom riders who were killed, who were beaten, who were scorned for standing up for civil rights, and especially for the civil and human rights of black people. But if the city leaders, including Mayor Garcetti, including Chief Beck, and including City Attorney Mike Feuer, really honored Dr. King, if they really honored Mama Parks, if they really honored Fannie Lou Hamer and the Freedom Riders, they would do the things that you do when you believe in justice, especially when we talk about peaceful, nonviolent demonstration. Not even the prosecutors of the segregationist South put peaceful, nonviolent demonstrators on trial. Not even the prosecutors of Montgomery, Alabama, put Mama Rosa Parks on trial. And yet here we have a city attorney who claims to be a progressive doing what the rabid white supremacists did not do during the time of the civil rights movement of the 60s and of the 70s. Los Angeles cannot claim to honor Dr. King, cannot claim to honor the legacy of the civil rights movement, and put Jazz Wade on trial. Los Angeles cannot say they honor Mama Parks and that they honor Fannie Lou Hamer and put Osceola Sankara on trial. And so we want to make sure to point out that no other city in the United States is going after peaceful, non-violent movement members as Los Angeles is. We look at Oakland, where they have stopped bridges, where black women have stood in the financial district blocking streets and baring their breasts, where people have blocked trains on the BART system. We look at D.C., where freeways were stopped, where bridges were stopped. We look at New York City, where some of the most famous bridges in the world were brought to a halt based on peaceful, nonviolent protests, and we find that those protesters have not been brought to trial. But here in Los Angeles, some protesters, nonviolent and peaceful though they are, with an iron fist. Shutting down streets, shutting down freeways is a part of the legacy of the civil rights movement. When we watch Selma, when we look at the documentaries, where are people? The people who are demonstrating peacefully are in the street. The people who are demonstrating peacefully are on the bridges. This is where people are. This was not a sidewalk movement. This was not a movement where people were up in the air, avoiding any contact with people on the ground. This was a movement where streets were filled and cars were stopped. This was a movement where bridges were stopped. This was a movement where freeways were stopped. And it is ridiculous for this city, for this mayor, for this police chief, and in particular for this city attorney, Mark Fuhr, to pursue charges and take people to trial for things and for activities that King, Parks, Hamer, and so many others engaged in and which they claim they honor. A progressive city does not stand for this, and we're calling on Angelenos to stand up and to rebuke these prosecutions, to let the city attorney Mike Fuhr know, to let the mayor Eric Garcetti know, to let CheifBeck know that this will not stand, that Angelenos are for social justice and will not stand for South Africa apartheid-era tactics being used against peaceful, nonviolent protesters. I want to bring up next Brother Akili to talk about the issues of how we're finding ourselves in this place. Brother Akili.
Thank you, Nana. And my name is Akili, and I'm a member of Black Lives Matter. And I wanted to talk about the anti-democratic activities that have been happening here, but also to talk about the sophisticated face that we put on ourselves in an effort not to commit to justice. We talk about justice. We say we support it, but when we are asked to stand for it, then we can't be found. And that's the point that Nana was making, that we have these people here who talk about justice, but when they're called upon to support it, to stand for it, and defend it, they don't do that. Here in Los Angeles, we have a police commission where they hold public meetings, and there are more police there than members of the public. There are police who are standing shoulder to shoulder, wall to wall police. It's intimidating. And when you speak up and speak out, they arrest you. They want you out. They push you out. That's not the kind of justice that we are talking about. And one of the aspects, one of the elements of Black Lives Matter is that we will no longer accept business as usual. We can no longer accept our children and our people being killed and nothing being said or done about it. We can no longer accept murder in the streets and the police chief saying, well, you may have been ruled out of policy, but I got your back.
Right.
We can no longer accept that. We can no longer accept black faces in high places and not have them speak for the people who they presumably represent. We can no longer accept an unaccountable police commission that doesn't even listen to the people they supposedly represent. So we're calling for, and we have a series of demands that we want to share. And one of our demands is that we want community meetings. We want this LA Police Commission to have meetings in our community, to really hear from people. And without the strong police presence, without the police being there in an intimidating manner, if you believe in democracy, if you believe in justice, and if you call yourself a progressive, then we ask you to stand with us, not against us. We're asking you to drop the charges. We're asking you to support community meetings of the police commission, and we're asking you to make sure that we have real representation on the police commission, not just black faces in our places. So we're calling on the mayor, we're calling on Mike Fuhr, and we're calling on other officials to live up to their stated commitment. It's easy, as Dr. King talked about, to be for something when there's no sacrifice, there's no cost associated. It's when there's a cost associated with it. When you're asked to do something, that's when you demonstrate your belief. Not in words, not in holding a sign, or not in kind of acknowledging something you did 30 years ago. It's today, and we're asking them to live up to what they say they believe in. Drop the charges, have democratic open meetings, and meet with us in the community. Thank you very much.
Next, we're going to hear from Professor Anthony Radcliffe.
How you doing? So what I want to talk about today is just sort of the irony of this whole situation. The reason why folks, Black Lives Matter, have been out there protesting is specifically because of police brutality, police murders, and police not being held accountable. But instead of the city of LA and other cities around the country going after the police, they go after the protesters to try to silence folks. And so we want to say that enough is enough. And so what we did, we created, Black Lives Matter has created a series of 5 demands. And Brother Akili and Sister Nana both kind of talked about that, but I want to bring them forward so people know exactly what we're fighting for. First, we're demanding that CheifBeck be fired. We believe that CheifBeck is no longer able to hold his job because, as Brother Akili said, once we found that Ezelfor was shot in the back and was out of policy, CheifBeck didn't take those people and put them out. He said, "I got your back," right? So that's number one. Number 2, we demand a reparations committee set up that will actually make sure that all the people who've been abused in the past, all the families who've lost a loved one because of police brutality, those people get some sort of reparations, whether it's college funding, some sort of assistance in housing, other things that can help them to rebuild their lives. Number 3, as Brother Keeley said, we call for the commission to be totally revamped. Currently, it's held in the police headquarters, where it's not an independent body at all. There's no way to call this an independent body if they work directly with the police. We want an independent body that is outside the police headquarters. In addition, it should be held at a time when people can actually get there, not at 9:30 on Tuesday. Every other major city has police commission meetings. They're in the evening when working people can actually come down there and go to it. Number 4, we want to make sure that people are put on the police commission that represent the community. Currently, no one really represents the community. It's people that have backdoor dealings with the mayor. So we want to make sure that people who are actually brought to the police commission that have direct connections with public safety organizations and other activists that have been out there demanding police justice against police brutality. And number 5, we want to have these public meetings with the mayor in the community, town hall meetings every single month, to talk about what's going on in the community. And we feel like that's the only way to bring this to an end. We want transparency, we want accountability, but we want these demands to be met. And this is what Black Lives Matter has been fighting for. And so until those things are actually agreed to, then we will not stop fighting.
No more business as usual.
Thank you so much. And so we make our demands for charges to be dropped. We just completed a 2-week trial of Black Lives Matter peaceful, nonviolent demonstrators who literally were put on trial for attempting to speak with Mayor Garcetti at a public recreation center in a public space. But because he was so frightened, Mayor Garcetti, and because CheifBeck was so frightened of 2 unarmed, nonviolent people, they created a case. They created a case against these 2 young people, claiming that they had trespassed on public property and claiming that the arrest of them for trespassing on public property was legitimate. What did it do? It exposed the system for what it is. It exposed CheifBeck to having a bench warrant and body attachment issued against him and held. And the only reason the bench warrant was dropped was because he put under penalty of perjury and a sworn declaration that he didn't hear anything that night, that he didn't see anything that night, and therefore was not a precipient witness. But it came out in the trial that everyone else in the room heard a lot. And so we know that CheifBeck lied. And if any other rank-and-file officer had lied in this manner, especially one that CheifBeck did not like, he would make sure to send him to the Board of Rights, where he sends officers to be terminated. And yet here he is still there, causing other people to be prosecuted. Mayor Garcetti, he was in that room. If those other folks heard, Mayor Garcetti heard. But he said no, he was too busy. After even requesting a restraining order against these people at their arraignment, personally making that a request through the city attorney's office, he decided that he was too busy to be able to come to trial, to follow through and stay on the record what really happened. That is the mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti. 8 witnesses testified. 4 different stories, completely different stories, told by officers of the law, as well as other members of the mayor's staff. What was exposed in these trials is that we are on the side of righteousness, and that they have to lie, they have to cheat, they have to use the system in order to come against us and try to suppress our speech. But it's not going to happen. It hasn't happened so far, and it will not happen in the future. Instead, what's happening is taxpayer money to the thousands of dollars is being spent just to try to teach people lesson. The lesson is for the city attorney's office. The lesson is for the mayor. And the lesson is for Chief Beck. The time is now for City Attorney Fuhr and city leaders to answer the question, which side are you on? Are you on the side of righteousness? Are you on the side of social justice? Or are you on the side of the segregationalists of the 60s? Are you on the side of those who would dampen and stamp out free speech? In the name of our ancestors, in the name of their ancestors, in the name of those of us who are here subject to their rules and their procedures, and in the name of our children and future generations, we pray that it will be on the side of truth, justice, and righteousness. Drop the charges, City Attorney Mike Fuhr. Drop those charges. Have there be no trial next week. Stop filing charges against peaceful, nonviolent demonstrators. Get with